evening, everyone. How are you? Clearing my throat. So, not been on for a couple of weeks. As you can probably see, there's been lots of stuff going on behind the scenes. I'm rebranding, or I have rebranded. Everything's will be evolving over the next week or so, and I'm heads down, fully involved in the content creation for my course. So, it's all go at Shea Pridmore. Anyway, but I have been going through some stuff today, and this massive I'm reading this really good book. In fact, it was recommended to me by Beth. Hey Beth. And it talks about it's about fear, but a really interesting theory around it. Now, I knew of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow was a psychologist, and in the mid-40s sort of released some a theory that a human has a hierarchy of needs, meaning there are basic needs that need to be met, middle needs, and then the top needs. And we all know this, so well, we don't all know it, but I'll go through them with you and understand. Hi Kathy. So our hierarchy of needs, our basic needs in order to function as a human being. I've got a really itchy nose all of a sudden. What does that mean? Anyone know? Does it mean? No, that's something's talking about me. That's ears, isn't it? Anyway, so our basic needs are food, oxygen, water, shelter, and sleep. There are basic needs for us to function as a fully fledged human being, or a basic, our basic needs. There are 6 in total, but I'm not going to go through them all, but I can do at the end, but just the ones that are relevant to what I'm going to talk about. So you've got your basic needs, and then in the middle you've got connection to other people. Hey Ellie! Connection, physical connection, sexual relationships, love, just physical contact with people, just all the lovely stuff in the middle. That we have a need to have that. We have a basic connection. And if you think about it, the human race wouldn't exist if we didn't have that basic need, because we wouldn't want to get together, would we? And then at the very top, so imagine this is like a pyramid. And at the bottom you've got sleep, oxygen, food, water. And in the middle you've got connection and love and sex and all that. And then at the very, very top, the little tiny bit of the triangle at the top is growth. And so I was reading this book today, so I knew I've read this before. Hey Amy, I've read this before. I know what the hierarchy of needs are. But Mel Robbins, who wrote the book that I'm reading, it's called Take Control of Your Life, and she's brilliant, Mel Robbins. If you are into this kind of stuff, you probably know who she is. But she talked about her theory behind this theory, which I absolutely loved, so I'm going to share it with you, is that we have a physical reaction. So her book is a lot about dealing with fear and sort of catching it before, recognising what our pattern is and what how we respond to fear and how it manifests in our lives. So for me, if I'm frightened about doing something, I'll procrastinate around it. Some people will will just get angry, or they'll panic, or get like a real anxiety sort of physical reaction to fear. And we're all unique in how we respond to it. And our fear is based on stuff that happens to us as a child. So we'll do something, it makes us feel, and it leaves an imprint. So anything negative that happens to you as a child, it leaves an imprint on your unconscious, and so your brain remembers when it happens, and it goes, okay, well, I didn't like that, so let's not do that again. So every time something comes up that's similar to that, every time a thought comes up that's similar to that, we'll get that feeling of fear. And you all know what fear feels like: sweaty palms, shaking, short of breath, you go quiet, all these things, and fear manifests in loads of different ways. And this book is about recognizing what your trigger is, and how it feels. Hey Claire. What the trigger is, how it feels, how that shows up in your body, and how to interrupt that so fear doesn't end up ruling the day. And she's got this wicked theory that ties in with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So when we are we have a physical response to when our needs aren't being met at a basic level. So if you are, if you need sleep, we feel tired. If we're thirsty, if we need water, we feel thirsty. If we need food, we feel hungry. Hey Deborah, I'm going to stop doing that now. I say that every time, I'm just going to not do it. Hi everyone who's listening, thanks for chucking in. If we are cold or it starts to rain, we find shelter. Like that's how we have a feeling. So okay, I need food, I feel hungry. Okay, so they're the feelings there. If we need connection, if we're lacking connection, then we'll feel lonely. Or if we need a physical contact, we'll feel whatever you want to call it. So there is a physical feeling to... Hi Lisa, that's so funny. Lisa and Claire said they're in the same family. There's a physical feeling, and then we go and get what we need. Like our body tells us what's wrong in order for us to get that need. But what happens when we get to the top of that pyramid? Like no one talks about that. How do you feel when you need growth? And Mel Robbins' theory is that the feeling that we get when we need growth is feeling stuck. And it just makes ridiculous amount of sense to me, because what most people don't get, like when Tony Robbins talks a lot about the 6 human needs or 5 human needs. There's 5 or 6, whichever theory you decide to read. And the top 2 when he talks about it is growth and contribution. And we have this need as a human race. If you think about growth as a need, we wouldn't have evolved into such incredible beings as we are, and we wouldn't have been able to invent the aeroplane and the electric light if we didn't have this need for growth, this constant need for more information, for to know how things are done, because that's our nature. That's why we are such a incredibly successful species, because we have this need for growth. But what happens is that and this is why, and it's so in line with what I do, because I believe, and you can disagree with me if you want to, but that's fine. It's just my belief and my theory that we're born and we have this incredible amount of potential, and we have this light that shines from us, and a baby doesn't get born with limiting beliefs. It doesn't come out of the womb and go, oh, I don't think I'm clever, I don't think I'm pretty, I don't think I'm funny, I don't think I'm fit, I don't think I'm healthy, all these things. A baby doesn't come out of the womb thinking like that. It comes out believing that it can do anything. A child believes it can do anything. That's why we love children so much, is because they have this infinite belief that if they want to be an astronaut, they'll be an astronaut. That's what kids do. That's why when everyone says, what do you want to be when you grow up? When we're kids, we say all these things that as adults, we'll go, and I've seen it, parents go, oh, bless him, wants to be an astronaut, without any real belief that that's actually going to happen for the child. Now, I'm not saying we all do this consciously, but there is some part of us that will go, because we're conditioned to believe that we are capable of certain things, depending on where we're from, depending on our upbringing, our schooling, our education, whatever. So, lost my train of thought now. So my point is that, or her point is, my belief is that as we grow up, life kicks the shit out of us. So we have a bad relationship, we have a bad boss, we have some trauma happened to us as children, and we absorb, we make it mean something. So something happens to us and we make it mean that we're not good enough, or that we're not clever enough, so we don't get the job. We make it mean unconsciously that we're not good enough to work there. We get dumped by the boyfriend, and we make an unconscious belief that we weren't good enough for that person. And so we go through life, and as we get to, this is why sort of 30s, 40s, 50s is such pivotal points for people, especially women, because that's who I'm aiming at, but it's just the same for men as well, is that we get to a point in our life where everything has eaten away, and that light gets dimmer, and it gets dimmer, and it gets dimmer, and then we get to 30, maybe 40, and that's it, we plateau. and we get this horrible overwhelm. We've got this, and everything's fine, you know. We like our job, it's all right. We've got a nice house. We go on a holiday every year. You know, we've got great kids, and everything on paper looks fine. But there's just this underlying feeling that there's more. You know, there's more out there for me. There could have been, should have been, would have been. And we start making excuses, and we start, and it's insidious. It's like this insidious, is that the right word? I'm not even sure if that's the right word, but it felt right. Anyway, this real subtle underlying feeling of unfulfilled potential. And I mean, and this thing I was listening to today was so revealing for me, because it's like, what drives you? Do your dreams drive you, or is it fear of not achieving them? And that's me. Like, that's what drives me. It's fear of getting to the end of my life and you could have, should have, would have. Like, I never want to be one of those people. So, and it's actually not that healthy to have that as your drive, because you cannot be in the moment and not enjoy what's going on around you at the time. So it was a really good perspective for me, personally. So what happens is that we get to 30s, 40s and 50s, and we might be relatively happy. Life's gone all right. You know, like I said, we've got a great life on paper, but there's this underlying feeling, but nobody knows what that is. Nobody can pinpoint, because no one talks about it. You know, you don't get into conversations about, you know, how are you growing this week? Like, that just doesn't happen. We talk about, are we fulfilled in our relationships? We talk about, do we enjoy our job? We talk about all those kind of things, but this kind of stuff isn't really spoken about as a general rule. So then what happens is that you go, well, no one talks about it. So you just settle and you just be. And so for some people, it's this unrestfulness. And then we start to blame other things. We start to blame our relationship. We start to blame our job, because we just don't feel happy, or we just don't feel fulfilled. And we look outside of that for the answer, and it's not always there. So I want to put it to you tonight that if that's you, like if you're got a great life, happy marriage, great kids, you know, job that you enjoy, work colleagues that you like spending time with, you know, if that's you, but you've just still got this unfeeling, then ask yourself the question, like, where am I growing? Where am I challenging myself? Like, is there something that you'd like to learn? And then she talks about, which is brilliant, and I so agree, hence the reason I'm talking about it, is what happens then is the fear kicks in. So we get to 30, 40 or 50, and this has happened to me loads. Happened to me at 30, majorly. Happened to me again at 40. So what happens is that we go, okay, I do want more. That's okay. Like, I do want to go out to, I want to try that. I should, you know, if I could do anything, I'd do that. And then what happens is when we think about it, this whole heap of shit fear like dumps on us, because when we think about dreams and goals, and I've been majorly guilty of this, is that suddenly it makes it massive. It makes it bigger, and the thing that we want to do becomes this massive mountain of stuff that we've got to do, and we're already busy and we haven't got time, and then we shut ourselves down. And we can only see the big picture of what that means. That's it. We just, because we don't know what else to do, because we've never done it before. So we just go, okay, I want to achieve, that would be a really nice thing to achieve, but I can't do that. I've got 3 kids, I work full time. And there was nothing, you know, this has never been more prevalent, you know, I mean, more evident to me when in my network marketing business, the amount of people that would be incredibly excited about a business opportunity, but then the fear of what it means to achieve that would kick in, and it would just hold them back. I saw it every day pretty much. But there's so many of us doing it in our lives as we are, you know. It's like, well, I'd quite like to. So say that you're a mum, like say that you've got a full-time job or a part-time job, and you've got kids and you've got a fellow and you've got, you know, commitments and family and all that, and your life is already full, and you've got this like unresting feeling that there's just more to it, and there was something that maybe you were really into when you were younger, and because of kids and partner and job and work and everything, that it just got put to back, but you were really passionate about it. And so if there's something in your life that you feel that way about, and you're just going to yourself, and you keep thinking about it, or you keep getting that feeling, then that feeling's there for a reason. You're crying out for some growth, like your needs aren't being met in the growth area of the hierarchy of needs, like that top little triangle. And it's so important, because it's that top little triangle that makes us feel just bleh. It's, you know, the word that describes that, you know, is if that need isn't being met, we're fine. And fine's fine if you're fine with it. But if you're not fine with it, then it's about thinking, right, okay, if I could wave a magic wand and I could not take away because you wouldn't want to do that, but if I could wave a magic wand now and I gave you an extra day in the week, like what would you, and that day had to be just for you, like what would you do with it? What would you learn? Would it be another language? Would it be, I don't know, learn to knit or something? Whatever it is, what would you do with that day? Because the first thing that comes to your head is the thing that your inner you is crying out for, that growth, that, you know, and people thrive off it. Like I do this because I absolutely thrive off personal growth. Like I love it. I mean, literally love it, as you can tell. So I read all the time. I read 3 books at the same time, because I like to, you know, I have those moments where I go, oh my God, like today was one of them. Hence the reason I'm talking about this now. So I want you to think about, if I gave you a free day, what would you do with it? You had to spend it on yourself. Ollie, oh my God, I was totally on the wrong page waiting. Sorry, babes. Yeah, on my biz page, babe. Anyway, so if I could wave a magic wand and give you one extra day in the week, and it had to be for you, and it couldn't be anything to do with the kids, and it was something to do that you wanted to learn how to do, what would you learn? Like, what's the first thing that you would say? And then I want you to think about it. Thanks, Anthony. I want you to think about it and go, right, instead of seeing that as this big thing, so maybe it's learn a language. Let's just use that as an example. So just for example purposes, okay, I want to learn French. If I think about learning French on top of everything that I'm already doing, that just blows my mind, and I just go, nope, can't do it. Haven't got time, haven't got the brain space, haven't got the bandwidth, I haven't got the time to do it. Okay, so the need doesn't get met, and then we end up feeling like shit because we've gone, oh God, I'd really love to do that, but I can't. And then we feel a bit down on ourselves, a little bit sorry for ourselves. But then she talks about taking a Lego brick. So let's say that you've got a Lego brick, you're a mum, you've got one Lego brick is one child, another Lego brick is another child. If you've got a partner, that's another Lego brick. If you've got a job, that's another Lego brick. Think about that new thing, that thing that's going to satisfy your growth, as another Lego brick. And it's just a small Lego brick. What would you have to do to take a step, to pivot in the direction of that goal? Because that's a lot more manageable than thinking about speaking fluent French, to keep on with that example. So let's say that it was that. Maybe there's an app where you can learn to speak French. I know there is, because Mark's got one for Spanish. So maybe just getting an app, and maybe just thinking, well, I could do 10 minutes. Once the kids are in bed, I could sit and just listen to this app for 10 minutes. And suddenly your need for growth is being satisfied. So suddenly you start to feel more satisfied. Because when people ask you what you're doing, you say, oh yeah, you know, work's fine, you know, everything's fine, and I'm learning French. Because it's true. But when if I was to say to you, right, I'm going to say to you to learn French like now, you'd be like, oh, well, I haven't got time to learn, you know, I haven't got time to take that on. I've got kids, I've got this, I've got that, I've got a business to run, I've got a job to do, I've got family to look after. And so your need for growth isn't being met. Do you get that? Isn't it awesome? So I want you to ask yourself that question. I'm going to recap. So there's a hierarchy of needs, and our basic needs are being met. if we've got a partner and family and people that love us, that middle area of our needs is being met. But what isn't being met by most people is our need for growth. And so if I could wave my magic wand and give you an extra day in the week, and it had to be for growth, like you had to be learning something or becoming something else, and I could say to you, here's this day, it's the 8th day of the week, what would be the first thing that you would do with that day? And whatever comes up, maybe you used to dance, maybe you'd like to put some tap shoes on, whatever comes up first, that's what you'd really like to do. So and then look at that thing, and instead of looking at it as this big thing that you can't possibly fit in, what would be the first next step you would do in order to learn how to do that? Maybe that would just be researching it on Google. Maybe that would just be like looking for local French teachers, if it was French, or Spanish teachers, whatever it was. Because just that motion, that little pivot in the direction of that would start to satisfy that need for growth. And then you realise that actually, if I just take one step at a time, if I just take that next Lego brick and put that down, then I can do that. And then suddenly your confidence builds, and then suddenly every other part of your life is better because you're satisfied and you're fulfilled. I talk to so many people who are unfulfilled. Everything's fine. They've got a great house, they've got a great job, they've got plenty of money in the bank, they're not worried about anything, but they just feel bleh. Most of the people I work with feel that way. There's just something missing. And that something missing is that they personally don't feel that they're growing. And it's one of our most important human needs, but the one that's most neglected. So that's my little video for tonight. So I'd really love it if you could comment in the underneath with what came up in your head. Like, if you could learn to do anything, if I gave you that extra day, what would it be? And I want you to just think about what would be the first right step to pivot in the direction of that. Now, does this mean that, in 6 weeks' time you're going to be speaking fluent French? If that's what you chose, then no. But that's not the point. The point is that you need to move in the direction of that, and then you'll start to feel more satisfied and more fulfilled and happier. And that is me done. So thanks for tuning in, all those. Lindsay Reap, hi love, I need my fringe cutting. Lindsay's my hairdresser, and she said, how long do you want your fringe? And I was like, sort of Claudia Winkleman annoying. But I do actually love it, but it is getting a little bit long. Hey Lisa, thanks for that. I will speak to you soon. Bye.